Well, hello everyone. My name is Phil. I was the special makeup effects coordinator for this film as well as the weapons master. Anything dealing with bloody body parts and everything else along that was my job, as well as providing the majority of the prop and stun weapons used in the film.
My name is Patrick Millette. I was one of the producers. I was second assistant director, and I also played Roy Crowley. And I'm also Phil's victim, often.
No, I'm Jason John Beebe, and I played Chris, the first guy to die in the film.
And he isn't that bitter and angry about that. Not at all. Actually, you're wrong. That John died before you. So, well, can't forget that. Okay, I'm Michael O'Hare, and I play William Sanders.
I am Theo Kemp, and I play Joe Spencer.
I'm Melody Berg, and I play Chloe Romero.
I'm Gregory Blair, and I play Harold. And Harold was just a real freak show that you couldn't wrap your head around or ever really understand, a real enigma, and that was kind of exciting to just try to bring to life and be true to the writing and keep it weird. So that's what I did.
Gregory and I talked before we shot, and we got him a hat. Everybody saw the hat, right? Did everybody like the hat? Did the hat kind of fill the character a little bit, right? Well, it was actually 3 sizes too big, so a lot of times we had to play with shadows because the hat actually overhung half the side of his head. So
It was like stuffed with newspaper or something to stay up there.
yeah. Talk about that bloody scene where you just decided to kill Sheriff Dutton. Talk to us about it. What was that?
Oh, Adam goes, it's gonna be a little messy. And I'm like, well, I figure. And he goes, yeah, I mean, we got like a whole, I don't know how many gallons of blood or whatever. We're just gonna shoot it all at you. And I'm like, okay. And so, I don't know, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, okay, I got the shovel. I'm gonna start slicing and chopping. You do your blood thing and I'll just keep going till you say cut. And that's what we did.
That night was one of the the gorier nights that we have done, especially on this film. The only other night that we ever that was a gory night was probably with Miss Melody down there. It's a good thing that we all maintained professionalism that night. Otherwise, we would have blown a take. I'm just saying. But we actually, with this film, just a quick little tidbit that how many folks here have actually seen an Adam film before? Okay, so you guys are all very familiar with the amount of blood that is used on each film, correct? Mm-hmm. Well, just to give you a quick heads up, this film actually used the least amount of blood ever.
That's a kind of an accomplishment, right?
It was shocking because usually usually the 2 words that I hate the most coming out of your mouth is more blood.
Well, there you go. Now we have both of you on the panel, Jason and Phil, and just to touch base slightly more on the prosthetic. We talked about it briefly in the last panel. Let's talk a little bit more about that. I'm going to start with Jason, and then I'd like, there you go. Start with Jason. Give us a little bit of the process on your end, and then we'll go to Phil and see how it actually turned out in that fashion.
So, the process. I sit in a chair and Phil puts a prosthetic on me.
All right, moving on.
So it took probably about an hour and a half, and we conversated, got to know each other a little bit better, even though we've known each other for like 7 years of filming. And it looked good, and it didn't match at all the color, but then you see the movie and it looks perfect, because that's the magic of filmmaking and editing. And Phil did a great job. And when it came off, it was kind of painful because I do have facial hair, and some of that hair came off with my fake skin. So that's about the process, Phil.
And just for the record, I did warn him about the facial hair prior, so he was expecting it.
He totally downplayed how much it would hurt.
The prosthetic itself was just it was a foam latex prosthetic. It's the most common thing that you use on most films. And the one thing that you do have to take into account whenever you are doing any sort of special lighting and whatnot, especially in the dark scenes, you do have to color it very differently, because as Jason was saying earlier, it was like, oh, the color was not working. He's like, yeah, just wait, it'll match, I promise. And everyone's always like, is it gonna work? I'm like, just shoot it and find out. And everyone's like, okay, hey, it works.
All right, sorry about that, thank you. Let's move down to Patrick Millette. Patrick Millette was Roy Crowley, which is, what is Roy Crowley?
Roy's an evil dude.
That's a say it lightly, right?
Yeah, a mysterious guy. He doesn't really let you get to know him too well, which is what you were going for. So.
Is there any real Pat in there?
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing is when originally when Adam was writing this, he had me in mind for Harold, and that somewhere along the line switched to Roy Crowley, and the reason he gave me is because he's never seen me angry, and it was a blast being angry. So yeah, I hold that shit in, so yeah, I guess it was fun to let it out.
And Pat and me talked vigorously. Normally he gets a text really late at night because I'm a night guy. And I said to him, I've never seen you angry. I said, I want to see you angry. And, well, we saw him angry. And at times it was kind of intimidating to even walk past him with that full prosthetic on.
I just want to add that when Pat was in the makeup chair and he was practicing for those very angry roles, I've known Pat for, oh God, so many years, and he's like one of the nicest guys I know, and when he's practicing, it actually scared me a lot, and it takes a lot to scare me, but so I applaud you, sir. That was awesome.
Thank you.
If you get a copy of the DVD or the Blu-ray, we have an awesome special feature on it. It's almost about a half hour long. It's a making of the film, and it's a video diary that we took throughout the whole process. And there's scenes where Pat is walking around, you just hear him, preparing for the moment. So that was kind of cool. Let's switch gears a little bit. Can I switch your mic there? Switch gears a little bit to Mr. O'Here. All right. Michael O'Here plays William Sanders, a character that's been really since I've started filmmaking. If anybody has followed my work that far back, his character has been pivotal to every single film that we have done. And that's really kind of one of the brilliancies behind, if that's even a word, right? Brilliant? It's brilliant, okay? Because we have seen since 2009, the progression of the William Sanders character. Can you talk about what you brought to this interpretation to carry on that legacy?
Okay, well, for this film, he was tired, he was beat. He didn't have any of the vim and vigor that he often had, and he didn't have people he hated, because William really liked to hate people. He was never friendly. And this is probably the most friendly we see of him, because he thinks he's going to die. But of course, the laugh is, it's like, he's kind of like one of those monsters in a horror film. He doesn't die. He's been stabbed in the back a number of times, and other different effects, and literal. And yet, he keeps coming back.
Now, one of the awesome things about Michael's character was that we took so much extra time for his scenes when he met Sheriff Dutton. And we created these ceiling to floor walls of newspaper to kind of give him this interpretation and mythology that this man is beat down, he's at the end of his life, and here he is now at the verge of the end, his demise, and this is what his life was. So it's kind of like almost bringing the character back from the dead in a sense.
Well, because we actually cut where he was going to kill himself.
Yes, yeah, we did. We did talk about that a little bit, Mike. What we did with that.
Sure. Well, being ex-police, it was the gun in the mouth trick. Maybe was very serious about it, but then Dutton suddenly, ambles in and gives him a reason to live.
It would have been too heavy, too fast.
Yeah. And it would have made your story kind of just too dark, I think.
I agree.
All right, let's go to Theo.
Hello.
Hello, Theo. How are you this evening?
I'm great, thank you.
We want to know about you, Theo. Talk to us a little bit about how you got involved with the project. Talk about your experiences with blood? And also talk to us about what you brought to the character, because I mentioned in the last panel that the scene where he's shooting up in the bathroom is probably my favorite scene of the whole film. And it looked pretty believable, if you don't mind me saying. So can you give us a little bit of all that, if you can?
Okay, yeah. So let's work backwards. The heroin thing, I had to do a little research because I'm currently not a junkie. So I went and I got on the internet, like people do, and I used incognito windows so that nobody would know what I was looking for. And I watched a lot of videos just about people that really did deal with it, because I did want to take it seriously, even if the story ended up not putting a lot of, it's not a story about a drug dealer or a druggie or anything like that. It's a story about a werewolf. But I figured it needed to be as real as I could make it, so I did a little research. And I think we still got there on the day of, and I was like, wait a minute, this isn't what I thought it was going to be.
Very believable.
So actually, Pat helped me out a lot. We were on set, and he was like, I know a thing or two, not going to tell you why, and that was the end of it. And what else did you ask me about?
How did you get involved with the project? How'd you get involved with the project?
Oh, okay. How did I get involved? I was out of town. I was in Atlanta for a year, and I was studying acting at a theater called the Pinch and Ouch Theater. And when I came back, I was looking to just jump right back into acting, and I saw you posting about people auditioning for your movie. And I remembered having begged you to work on another project you were working on before I'd moved. And I didn't know if you'd remember me or if I should even tell you that I was the same person, because back then my name was Rachel and now it's Theo. And I didn't want to confuse him and tell him I was auditioning for which role, because that's a thing I have to deal with all the time. So it worked out. I talked to him. He was really excited about working together. The audition went really well, and somehow I ended up here, and I'm really glad about it.
We are very glad you did a great performance, man. Truly great.
Thank you. And the blood thing. I begged Adam to put blood on me. Everybody else got covered in blood. I'm sitting there, I'm on set, we're there for like several days all together, and Melody's covered in blood, just literally dripping. No one can touch her. She's got like her own special chair with a towel on it, and I'm like, where's my special chair? Somebody spray me with some blood. And no one wanted to spray me with any blood, and I was really sad. Every scene, I'm like, Adam, this is the one. I think I should just get a little blood on me. And he's
So
like,
are you really dead then?
I don't know, Adam. You're the one who wrote the script.
I don't know. We'll have to see.
Did I die?
I don't know. I know nothing.
Oh, I know less than you.
All right. And then down at the end, we have the beautiful Melody Rorig. Melody's our lead actress, and you went through every bit of, I want to say, hell that we could put an actress through. Please, elaborate.
Which part? It was definitely challenging. The long days, starting in the morning and then being covered in blood and working in it for 16 hours. And, as the sun's coming up, we're finishing. Yeah, I think I had the most blood probably, especially if you caught the scene where Christmas is pulled into the car and me and Michael are standing there and only one of us ends up dripping in gallons of blood. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely an interesting character for me to play, because it's definitely, I get more of like the girl next door kind of thing usually, and to come into this and kind of be, a junkie and to be someone who's just very dependent and someone who hasn't come into her own yet, was something really different and exciting for me to play. And I really loved the way that you wrote the character and that she had a whole arc and, totally kind of changed and became her own independent woman.
Yeah, and she went from, I want to say, there's say almost kind of a very sticky, helpless situation
Absolutely.
to this badass girl that's just shooting peeps, So
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. In the behind the scenes, if you get a chance to watch the DVD or the Blu-ray, whatever you have, there's a scene where Melody, it was I think the second day we shot, and she got blood on her. And I don't know if she was truly prepared for the level of blood that was going to be on her. So we were watching the behind the scenes footage, and she's outside with Phil Beath, rinsing out her hair, and you could see this look on her face, as if this might be the last Adam Steigert film. Progression of your character, though. You come from, you have all these different moods and emotions you portray, and then you get to that climactic end, and it just ends. Do you feel your character was given justice?
That's a tough question. I don't know. I feel like in some ways, you know, I feel like she got some of her revenge. I mean, that was my favorite part, was the machete and cutting off Roy's head. Best part for me. But, I mean, you don't really see exactly what happens to her in the end. So, who knows
Is she still alive too?
where that story will go.
There were 2 endings. We shot them both, and none of us knew what they were going to choose to use for that last section. I think it kind of branches off when we arrive in the car, we come back with Christmas and everything, and we're going to go exact our revenge, and that's where it stemmed off. And almost everybody had either like a demise or a triumph. And it was really interesting the way that you wrote very different endings. And yeah, so that was very interesting to see what you chose, and it seems like even a little bit you almost meshed a few things. So that was fun.
I believe we did. I have one more question for Jason, I'll open it up to you folks if you have any other questions. Can you, thank you. And that is, we've talked about this before. Well, when I wanted Jason to come on, I said I wanted this strong character, or this actor to play this character, and to bring something to the film that would leave the audience kind of in a position where they're like, well, what do we do next? And I wanted a strong male actor to do that. Talk about a little bit about how you brought that in, because of that conversation we had, and then knowing the whole time your character was going to get killed off almost first out of the group.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the compliment. I think that's a compliment. But yeah, pretty much what you said is what you told me, only a lot more through text messages and talking in person. And you said that I was one of the most important characters in the movie, and in the back of my head I thought he's probably telling everyone this. So, but I'm listening, and basically I got what you were going for. I knew, like, I think in your mind you wanted the audience to think that I was the guy that was going to save the day, but I was maybe the stronger physical of the characters, and that I wasn't afraid to tell them let us out of the house, and I was going to go kind of that route. And then when I died, people were going to be like, now what? So even though I knew I was going to get killed off, basically I approached it with knowing what you wanted, and then creating the character myself. Before filming, I knew what I was going to do, and I just did the best I could do, knowing I was going to die early on. And that's about how I approached it.
All right then. Thank you very much, everybody. So anybody have any questions you want to yell out to us? And we will try to answer them.
Oh, back there.
What's that?
What inspired you to write the Eric character?
Why don't you come down here?
Barbecue style.
Everybody, this is Eric, Christopher Burns Jr. Maybe we can sum up tonight's evening event with Christopher Burns Jr. maybe taking your shirt off? I don't know. No, I'm just kidding, I'm kidding. Christopher plays Eric, and I think he can tell the story better than we can. Chris, the floor is yours.
So, like, one morning at like 3 in the morning, I get a text from Adam, like, hey, I want to write a role for you in this movie, but how far are you willing to go? And that's not a question you want to hear at 3 in the morning. From Adam. And
we all got that message.
Yeah.
The group text.
And then he's like, so are you okay being in your underwear? And I'm like,
I don't think you believed me at first, by the way.
I did not.
I don't think you believed me.
Mainly because you were texting me at 3 in the morning if I wanted to be in my underwear.
What's wrong with that?
But he sends me a script, and it's me chained to a chair, eating people. And I'm like, okay. Again, you're volunteering for this. So he kept asking me for 3 months, are you sure you're okay to do this?
After you already said yes, by the way.
And it finally gets to the day of, and the homeowner has to let us into the basement so we can film down there for my scene. And I swear to God, she's not here so she can't review it. She literally asks, you're not doing any freaky shit in my house, right?
No, we're not.
Not 15 minutes later, I'm walking down in my underwear to the basement to be covered in goo.
Talk about that chair real fast if you can.
Yeah, for that chair. Phil did a wonderful job getting really personal and airbrushing me. Thank you, Phil.
We're friends, right?
Yes, we're friends. And I get down there, and Adam apparently thinks these stretch marks are real. And
Sorry.
then sits me in the chair and starts covering me in ground beef because he wants to.
Which was what we ate the night before, by the way, so it was leftover.
And then he starts to coat me in blood. Then he's a stand-up so he can coat me in more blood. And pours a bucket of it on the chair. The chair that I'm never going to be getting out of. He just wants me to sit in blood for the next 4 hours. Blood that will go into places that it will never come out. And luckily they couldn't figure out what the prop to use for me to eat was, so I came up with a brilliant idea. That was an actual ham I was eating for like 4 hours, and it was awesome. I cooked that thing for about 30 hours. It was gross looking, but very good.
We all cut, and Chris is over here just chewing on this thing still. We're like, dude, just stop. Just stop.
I'm pretty sure I made at least 2 of them throw up in that basement.
You know, I always wanted to make a werewolf film, but me and Michael had actually talked back in 2010-ish about doing a sequel where Michael was to return as the same William Sanders character and do a werewolf film in an apartment building. And that didn't end up happening, unfortunately. But we did talk about that. And so it was always on my plate, but I didn't know on an indie budget how you could do it. And watching Jaws over and over again, I started figuring that the less we show of the creature, the more interpretation our brains start to think of that creature. So in a lot of ways, the wolf works for what it's needed for, but the real fear is the very terror that these 2 people are delivering to these 4 individuals that didn't ask for this. So all my films connect in one form or another. We have officially titled it the GOREVERSE because,
You're welcome.
yes, that's Chris is doing there, and that's because gore is such a vital character to every single film that we've ever put out. And right now we are shooting The Horrific Evil Monsters, which is a much grander film than this, in the sense of scale. And we have some returning cast members, maybe, I don't know. But that's a 2020 release, and it's about a series of monster-ish people coming together to fight off the apocalypse. Anybody else over here have anything you want to say? Oh, thank you. Gregory, Mike, Theo, Melody.
I just want to say I'm really grateful I'm grateful that you cast me and that I was able to meet all these amazing people and work with you. And thank you to everybody that came out to see our film. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yes, this is to you guys. Thanks again for coming. We'll see you at the next one.